But again, you know, the Bigfoot mating habits and stuff like that, I'm kind of okay with, you know, keeping a secret because it's private information. You know, right?
I want to know the details.
I know you do, right? But I'm not fucking Charles Darwin out here looking at finches on the Galapagos Islands. I'm just out here, you know, just really trying to admire a species that's trying to remain elusive.
Oh, hey there. Welcome back to Show Me Yours with Jackie and Johnny. I'm Jackie Agnew.
I'm Johnny DeVito. And we could do that again if you want to.
I liked it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Unless you want to do it again.
I don't give a shit.
Okay. Yeah. Welcome back. Thanks for watching, everyone. This is very exciting. It's been years in the making that we've wanted to do a podcast.
It's been years that we've wanted to do a second episode.
Yeah,
this is a long time coming.
And we recorded a lot of first episodes before the one that was finally released.
And I think now that we got to this far, like, we're just gonna call it in. You know?
Yeah,
this is it. We worked all this time to get to this place, and
yeah, it's
I'm good.
All downhill from here.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Let's see how it goes, and then.
Yeah, but thanks for watching and tuning in.
Yeah.
And this week first of all, cheers.
Oh, cheers,
to
Jax.
Day 2 of sobriety.
We tried. We got close. We got close. I just worked all day, and I felt like it's a nice day out, and I'm gonna talk to you for an hour about Jimi Hendrix. So, like, we're not gonna drop acid. We might as well have a couple drinks.
Yeah, and I did nothing all day, but I figure wine doesn't count as liquor.
Beers and wine's not drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just hanging out.
It's Wednesday, bro.
Yeah. Just relax. We're not getting lit.
Well, I don't know. It might be a poker game. There might be a poker game happening here later tonight. I'm just saying. Like, I'm not doing it right now. Not for the show. I'm a fucking professional. Consummate.
Well, today we're discussing Electric Ladyland by Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. But before we get into that, we have some other things we want to discuss.
What are you gonna start with? Because
let's go.
A few things that I've been itching at my mind for the past week.
Let's start with the pasta mafia.
The pasta mafia. Fuck yes, ladies and gentlemen. There's the coolest crime story to ever come out. I don't know, just for me, I'm Italian. I grew up eating a lot of pasta and watching a lot of mob movies, and this story just combined two of the things that I love, you know what I mean, so much, as well as like that, and also like people trying to get famous on YouTube. So it's like the trifecta of that, where there's I don't know if we're calling him a mob boss. I don't know if
it didn't specify that he was a boss.
We don't know where he's at. Capo regime, maybe it could be an associate. Who knows? Right? Well, if it's an associate, we'll say associate.
We're not saying anything.
I'm not saying nothing. All I'm saying is that this fucking guy.
Respect the man.
This guy's awesome. This guy's awesome. What he did was he's wanted for trafficking large amounts of cocaine all throughout, I think in Europe somewhere. Anyway, so but known member of an Italian crime family operating out of southern Italy, who's been on the run from the law for over 5 years. Now this guy escapes to South America. Do you have the article in front of you?
I don't.
Oh, okay, because I'm just gonna make it up from here because I've just been so fucking into it that I've already made up every other aspect of the story in my head. So like we might as well make up the facts too.
Yeah.
So basically, what happens is, this guy's fleeing from the law. He's down in South America, and I don't know if he's like watching the Food Network too much, and like Mario Batali sucks to him, or binging with Babish isn't good. I don't know, but he's watching YouTube and he sees that there's a lane here that, like, I don't know what he's thinking, like a known crime boss who probably has the most exciting life ever, or one, you know what I mean, a very exciting life, you know, transporting and being in charge of the distribution of cocaine. I don't know exactly how close he was into this thing, but he decides, no, YouTube is the shits, okay? People don't know how to make the pasta. So he gets his wife involved, and they make a YouTube show, rolling out gnocchis, making pastas and shit, and like, I've looked all day, well, I worked all day. But I spent a very good portion of that day searching for the actual videos on YouTube, and I can't find them. If any listener can please track these down for me, then like send them in. We'll play them. It's so fucking funny. Because Interpol recognized this guy's tattoos.
Yeah, that was my favorite part, is that he took the time to blur out his face. And it was like, but they recognized him from his many distinctive tattoos.
Mwah. And they're not going to recognize me. I'm just making a joke, you know. Like, this fucking dude. He's got the balls. You know what the problem is actually is how his wife's got to carry the show all on her own.
Yeah,
she didn't probably. I wonder
they
where
have a whole business now that she's got to run.
It's a shame because I bet that she didn't go into it. Maybe didn't even want to be the on-screen talent, or I just want to know what the behind the scenes was. Like maybe she wanted to do it, and I'm making a character of the guy already in my head. Like he's just not satisfied with anything that he sees.
Yeah,
because I don't know how hard it is to get, you know, good Italian food in the Dominican or wherever he's hiding out in. This fucking guy, can you imagine if he's just watching his wife roll gnocchi and she's like, well, no, that's not the way you do it either. Get the fuck out of here. And then he starts doing it himself. Like, how do you go from just being in hiding and doing the one thing that you're not supposed to do is creating
putting
attention.
yourself up on the internet. See, the way I sort of imagined this was that, you know, he's on the lam. And he's depressed because he can't do what he loves, which is trafficking drugs. And he has no way to earn a healthy buck.
Way to set the character up here. Yeah, okay.
And, you know, he spends the day moping around his probably a basement, I assume they live in, not a lot of windows.
If he's on the run for trafficking cocaine, you think he'd take a couple bucks with him? I would assume he has a nice villa and camera equipment.
Yeah, but,
Sorry
you
to
know,
jump
you want to lay low. You don't want to be exposing yourself to the world.
I mean, it's that Playboy lifestyle. We don't know. I've already assumed that he's like the jet setting kind of type. So I'm sorry. Like, okay, so yeah, give me your side.
But well, perhaps he does live in a nice villa, but in my mind, the blinds are drawn at least because he's feeling blue.
What's he listening to, Jackie? What's on the record player for the minute?
Listening to some, what's that really sad, Elliot Smith? Is that the one?
I don't listen to that shit.
Yeah.
Check out Elliot Smith.
Yeah. I think that's the one. I'm pretty sure he killed himself.
All the good ones do.
Yeah. Anyways, he's listening to some sad music. Maybe some Everybody Hurts. And you know what? His wife, she's supportive, but after so long, I mean, you can't respect a guy like that. You can't respect a guy that doesn't respect himself. And so she's like, sweetie, I know, I get it. Life is tough right now. You know, we're on the run. We can't open the blinds. Life is looking like, you know, it's better not to choose not life. And she goes, but you know what? You know what I know about you and what I love about you is your love for making pasta. And they have this crazy thing out there where you can make videos of yourself.
Do you think she had to explain to him the entire concept of fucking YouTube, Jackie?
This is just how I see it.
I mean, you're turning this into a fucking love story, and what it actually is just a mad tale of ego.
This is how I see it.
I mean, I like the violins are coming in here, and this is about to be like a tragic story, but like she's...
But so what I'm imagining is that she lifted him out of his depression and, you know, sort of talked him into becoming this YouTube personality. And maybe, you know, he took some convincing. He was like, oh, I don't know. I'm on the run. And she was like, don't worry about it. We'll blur out your face. And he was like, okay. And now he gets busted because of this. And I sense some marital trouble.
You sense some marital... I think she's been working with the feds the whole time, man. If this story plays out the way that you fucking described it, then she's not a loving wife at all, right? Like, okay, so if you go from like, I can't respect a man who doesn't respect himself, she should... I mean, she's also a wife in the life, you know what I mean? If you know anything about the mob wife, right? It's the holy trinity of like the, you know, the husband and the wife and the gumare, right? But the gumare is probably not in the Dominican Republic. I mean, I don't know, maybe. I don't know the life that they're living, but I'm assuming that it's like a little bit more from like the cinema mobster type or whatever that is purely just driven by ego. He's, you know, he wants to be the greatest of all time. I mean, I'm assuming like he's like Ray Liotta, right? Getting involved in the drugs and then, well, I don't know. There was a time that the mafia didn't deal in them, but that's clearly not the case when there's so much like, you know, dollars and cents on the line.
Well, of course.
Right? So like when you get into that, I mean, he obviously got to the level that, I mean, there were eyes on him. He made a name for himself in the world of drug trafficking, and now he's like, I'm going to make a name for myself in YouTube and how I'm going to, like, is he rolling out pastas and shit like that? Like, what's he? I
think I mean, I gathered was that is like
I
some
put a
homemade...
solid 15 minutes into looking for this, and that's like, you know, pretty good preparation for this episode.
This is why we need a Jamie or
we need a producer. If anybody, if there's any young aspiring podcast producers out there, you can reach out to us if you are.
We don't really have room for you in this particular setup.
We'll make room. Don't worry about it. If you want to be on the floor.
Yeah, or if you want to look up these pasta making videos and send them to us.
I need to see them.
Yeah.
I need to see them. I'm absolutely fascinated with this. We need to. Well, I know it just sucks that the story's over so fast. Like Interpol just came and like snatched him up and like that's it. I hope he has like a whole pocket full of pasta that he rolled up that he's gonna like sling over a prison wall and get the fuck out of there and like start the YouTube like channel back up again. Like on the dark web of pasta making.
Yeah.
It is please can make me down. Can me down? I gotta show you how to make a di Alfredo today. Like, wouldn't that be nice?
That would be nice.
I don't know. One day, they did it like there's some study that's out there where they asked kids like what they wanted to be, and like a huge number of them said they wanted to be like YouTube influencers and stuff like that. You can't get fucking mad at that, Jackie. What are we doing right now? It makes sense. I wanted to be famous when I was a kid. I get it.
Well, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like this, I'm saying that this is driven purely from ego, and I respect it because I understand it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm doing this for fun mostly.
That's true.
I can't.
But
like a little bit of ego.
When my little brother was a kid and you would ask him what he wanted to be when he grew up, he would always either say a taxi driver or Regis Philbin.
He wanted... Okay. That's cool. You want to be a specific person? That was the first time that I ever knew that somebody was dumb. I was like a child. I'm like 3 years old or something, and my cousin, I'm not going to say his name, he might hurt his feelings, and he might not even remember this, but I will remember it forever. We were watching fireworks, and he just looks up at the sky and says, when I grow up, I want to be a firework. Yeah, and I just looked at him, and I looked around.
That would be what a violent end you would meet.
Well, you know, is it better to burn out or fade away? Like I say go out with a bang. But in the sense of just hearing something stupid for the first time and looking around and seeing everybody's acknowledgement and how dumb it is. But like some people were like, oh, that's so adorable because the kid said that. And there was a few stepdads that were there like, that was the dumbest shit that I've ever heard. You know? So is that it on Pasta Boss? Is there any...
unless you have anything else. I mean,
I
for
really
the sake of
I really
time.
don't. I just hope that... I hope he's gonna be okay. You know, I hope I hope the case gets thrown out.
For him.
I hope the judge looks at the case and is like, you know what, man, these videos, like what you did is wrong. We can't deprive the world of this genius.
Well, it could be his
greatness.
Community service.
It's educational.
Yeah.
It's for the community. It's important, and
Yeah,
I'm all behind it. Pasta Boss.
Pasta Mob Boss.
Pasta Mob Boss. I don't know, however you want to brand the show. Show me yours is behind you. And we're here 100% for Pasta Boss.
Yeah.
It's the pasta.
Okay, was there something else that you wanted to talk about?
Oh, there was, but I totally fucking forget now. Yeah, we have to move past it because I was just having too much fun with Pasta Boss.
It.
Yeah. All right.
All right. The other thing that I was going to mention was my, let's call it a journey of self-discovery. See, I'm 27 now. I'm in my late 20s. And over the last year, I've really wanted to dive deep into myself and my history and my genealogy.
And just find out why everybody's been asking you if you've been Jewish.
Yeah. And so in some ways, this journey really I've been on my whole life. But in other ways, this journey started last summer when we were sitting waiting for a show to start. Crow Court, shout out whenever stand-up is allowed again. Everyone in Vancouver should come out to a show. It's a lot of fun. It's a good outdoor venue.
It's probably the coolest outdoor.
Yeah, great views.
You'll see, yeah.
But anyways, we were sitting on the sidewalk having some beers, waiting for the show to start. And we were, I forget what we were talking about or what.
You were telling me a story that
well, yeah, I remember
that I found fascinating. Well, no, we didn't know what you were going to do that evening. Like we were talking about going over sets and stuff like that, like what jokes we were gonna do. And then, we were just having a couple beverages and shooting the shit, and then you told me this hilarious you told me this yarn, and I was wondering, like, why the fuck do you have a problem with what you're gonna say on stage tonight? Like that.
I wasn't like sure. I had an idea for my set, I guess, but I wasn't feeling great about it. And then I was like, on a completely unrelated note, have I ever told you that I think I might be Jewish?
It was one of those things that, like, when you, like, if you have a friend that's, like, is, like, really effeminate or something, and it's, like, it took a long time, and, like, guys, I got something to tell you, and, like, we fucking know. Like, it was, like, that kind of situation. Like, I was honestly more shocked that, I just have to come out, but okay, cool. I knew that you celebrated Christmas, so, like, I figured there's, like, a half situation going on there, but my sisters are also half Jewish, so, like, it was, I mean, I'm around half Jews all the time. I've been knowing Jews.
Yeah.
Right? So I just felt like,
So, basically, this suspicion that I have was born when I was in university. I went to school in Montreal, where there's a large Jewish population. And, I'm sure it's like this at every university. You're walking around and you're often approached by people who want you to join their student clubs and student unions and stuff like that. And I started...
I'm with the other half of you guys. I don't know anything about this. I wasn't there.
I started noticing this pattern where at least once a week I would be walking to class and someone would approach me saying, hey, like, I'm part of this Jewish student group. We meet, every Monday or whatever day it was. If you want to come, hang out sometime, here's the information.
Once a week is good numbers. You know what I mean? Like, if you're being approached once a week for anything,
right?
Like, that's like, if there's a prostitute soliciting me, once a week, then, like, that's, get the fucking hint. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to. Now, were they?
But it's not like it was the same. No, it was not the same person, and it was not it was always on campus, but it was not in the same place, and it was not the same person.
I was under the impression that, like, it was the same people coming up to you, be like, it's okay, just come home.
And I was like, this is kind of odd. But then I was like, maybe they're they're looking for members. And
it's a fucking pretty exclusive group, Jackie.
And I remember talking.
If I know anything about the Jews, they're good.
Yeah. And so I remember talking to my friends about it.
You gotta marry in.
And some of my friends are actually Jewish, and then being like, what the fuck are you talking about? And me being like, do you not find the Jewish student group very aggressive in scouting membership? They're like, no. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then one day in class, there was this girl sitting behind me, and she was like this tall blonde girl. And I heard her say to her friend, like, I keep getting approached by sororities trying to, like, recruit me to join. And I'm like, are you profiling me because I'm tall and blonde? And I was sitting there, and suddenly it hit me. And I was being profiled because I guess I have a certain look to me.
A couple significant, like, a couple distinct features, that might make somebody think that you're one of the chosen people of Israel. Like, Kind of a compliment.
And so,
depending on where you're coming from, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so this
like that means like you're funny. You know, you're.
Yeah.
We don't need to go into all of them, but like there's some good attributes, like with the resilient bunch.
Yeah, no, I don't
I'll
have a
fuck with
problem with it. As you know, I was rooting for this.
You've been rooting for the juice this whole time.
For this, and
as a business owner with you, I've been rooting for this as well. Like I don't know, like there might be some superstition there or something. Like, but we're just gonna roll the dice. Anything can help in this economy.
And sorry, when I was telling you this, it was like as I was telling you it, I was realizing how crazy it was.
Yeah.
I'd never really thought about it before.
Well, it's pretty crazy to find out that you're Jewish when you're 27, when you have like a family, like your family, right? You're not like an orphan, but like your dad is.
But that. Anyways, so that night I talked about it on stage and stuff like that, and then it became an obsession of mine. And the next time, the next time I was home, I was telling my dad about this, my dad and my brother. And at first, I opened with, so I think that we might have some Jew in us. And they were like, what the fuck are you on about now? And I was like, no, hear me out.
Did all you do is like, guys.
And so I sort of tell them the story. And then I was like to my dad, because there's a lot in my dad's family history that that I certainly don't know about. A lot of mystery there. And so I sort of pitched that to my dad. I was like, there's, do you think it's not a possibility? And he just got really quiet. And he was like, well, there's a lot we don't know. And I think you should definitely get that 23andMe test done. And I was like, okay. This is concerning.
I think your impression of your dad is like the creepiest man alive. Like he told you that like he was peeking behind the blinds or something. Like, there's a lot you don't know about our family, Jay.
Yeah, that's how it felt.
That was fucking disturbing.
Yeah. And so for Christmas he got me a 23andMe test, and that's where we will leave you for now.
I mean, put a pin in this, because the story does unfold in unforeseen ways.
Yes.
That I mean, we're most excited about. I don't want a 23andMe test for so many reasons. Like, I don't know if it's like a conspiracy thing, or like I don't want them to have my DNA or something. I don't know if I really care about that, but I definitely don't want like to know everything. You know what I mean? If I was raised by like the coolest old Italian guy like ever, right? Mm-hmm. So like I'm fucking Italian, but like if you like check the numbers, it's probably not that much, right? So,
right.
Like there's an old man once told me, your name's Jonny DeVito, and if they say you're not fucking Italian, you tell them to go fuck themselves. And I was like, I'm fucking like, I'm 5 years old, man. Like, okay. You sure you don't want to just throw this ball around back and forth? But no, he's cool. It's like, yeah. So like with that, I'm in me or whatever. I feel like, I don't know. I'd start making like schnitzels and I don't know. I'd probably I'd probably be learning a lot more Dutch.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, it was funny when I went to Scotland with my little brother and
Deutsch. What do Germans speak? I assume
what do Germans speak?
Yeah.
German?
But isn't it like having a name for it? I don't know.
I think it's just called German.
Well,
I don't know.
Tune in and tell us more.
But yeah, when I went to Scotland last year, I did find myself becoming really in touch with my Scottish roots.
It'd be cool. Right?
I was harassing my little brother the whole time to eat some haggis. I was like, you have to. It is in our blood. We are in Scotland. Why the fuck aren't you eating haggis?
Yeah, but you're going to pull a vegan card on him like a pussy and not
They
eat
had
it too.
vegan haggis.
And you didn't eat any?
I said, let's go to a haggis stand and you get the regular shit and I'll get the plant-based haggis.
I don't know, man. You can't put him on like it sounds like it was mutual and then you're putting a little more stank onto it once you get over to from what I understand, I'll eat fucking anything, but like that one dish in particular sounds pretty wild. That and there's like a Filipino thing where they eat like a live bird out of an egg or something. It's on Bourdain.
Well,
it's
he was
wild.
finally, when we were flying out of Scotland, we were in the airport waiting for our flight, and he ordered they had a special like haggis burger, and he ordered it, and they were out. So,
bitch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't. It's not my thing. It's just that like if I went to Italy, I would do the same thing. I'd be absorbed in the culture, and it'd be so cool. But there's not.
Yeah, I was.
There's
so
just
excited.
no like shitty food there.
I was
so,
buying
like,
up the Agnew family tartan. I was anything that said Agnew on it. I wanted to purchase.
That's cool that you got your own plaid.
Yeah, we got our own plaid. We got our own what's it called? Like a coat of arms type thing.
What's that?
Like a plaque.
Oh, it has like all the symbols and shit on it.
Yeah.
I know what that is. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was like a coat with like several arms and it has like you get there and you get to Scotland and we have a coat of arms for you, and you're really excited. Like, I gotta check out this. Yeah, there's fucking like 40 arms on a coat.
It's a coat of arms.
Like, there's not a lot of these in the world. That's the Agnew family right there. It's fucking rad. Could have been.
All right. Well, shall we get to the album?
What are we doing here in the first place? Yeah. That was awesome. I mean, hey, we're trying a 30-minute fuck around at the beginning, and I think that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So,
what are we doing here, Jackie?
Yeah, so our album is Electric Ladyland by Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
So just some background. It's the third and final album released by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. It was released in October 1968. It's their most commercially successful album, which is a little bit surprising to me. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
It's their only #1 album. So the Jimi Hendrix Experience, for those who don't know, it's Jimi Hendrix, obviously, and Noel Redding on bass, and Mitch Mitchell on drums. And it was basically formed by Jimmy and his manager, Chaz Chandler. Yeah. Manager and producer Chaz Chandler. They formed it in 1966, basically just to showcase Jimi Hendrix's talent and to give him some mainstream success in England that he wasn't getting in the States. They decided to form
could he just send him out there as like Jimi Hendrix as a solo act with a band? Because like Alice Cooper kind of did that, right?
He had been a solo act in the States, and he wasn't really achieving a lot of mainstream success. So he moved over to England, and they decided the best route was to get
let's put some flowers on this guy,
a 3-piece band, just to, I guess, highlight, give him room to expand.
Cool.
And their other 2 albums are You Experienced, which came out in 1967, and Axis Bold as Love, which also came out in 1968. And
2 records that year? This one and another? Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Well, I think actually they were all recorded in a very short amount of time. The release dates are different in the UK and the States. I think Axis Bold as Love came out in 1967 in the UK, which is the same year as their first album. But I think in the States it came out in 1968.
That's a big year for Jimmy. There's probably like some people in that in that area that were kind of coming into music like at that time, and they just had 3 like kind of show-stopping records kind of back to back.
It's crazy because those 3 albums with the Jimi Hendrix Experience is really what he's known for, and it's just really 2 years. And, the first one was released in 1967, and he died in 1970.
Shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot about this man I don't know.
He's dead.
What? Oh, hey, here's a 410 for Jim.
Yeah, for Jimmy.
Because Are You Experienced is the only one that I think that I remember listening to front to back. There's definitely some songs on here that are classics.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But like rock and roll radio kind of thing like that. I think there's 3 of them that I know, and I've definitely been drunk at a bar screaming all along the Watchtower is the best rock and roll song of all time. At some point, I've probably said that out loud.
Yeah.
But, a little out of character for me to never go back and like listen to the whole record through. So this is one that I never listened to before, and I didn't do my my research. No, I'm just kidding. I listened to it.
Well,
I listened to it.
Well, yeah. Well, how about you tell me your thoughts on the album and how what the experience was? It what you were expecting it to be?
Well, I'm not experienced.
Yeah. How was your Jimi Hendrix experience?
It was fucking cool, man.
I'm gonna make that
rad.
joke like 20 times.
Oh, man. We'll cut all of them. We'll cut all of them in the final. But the I like the record a lot. I did. Mm-hmm. It wasn't. It felt different. It had a different vibe, and I think I know why, because I had to listen to it through a couple times. When I was just hanging out here, it was like a cool like background groove kind of record. Mm-hmm. There was long kind of jam bandy kind of, drawn out songs, or one in particular that when I had it on in here, I couldn't really like focus into it, so then I knew that I wouldn't be able to really say anything about it unless I actually kind of put some headphones in and dive into it. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, you're supposed to be tripping balls and like really listening to this thing, because there's so many like
so much going on,
flutes and flutters that come in from one ear and out the other side, and like sonically speaking, it's
and most
really
of
cool.
that work is him. Like there's one I forget. I think it's Crosstown Traffic, where there's sort of like a kazoo sound, but he couldn't get he couldn't get the sound right, and so he just made it. He had like a comb and some cellophane basically, and he like sort of did it himself just to get the exact right sound that he wanted. Yeah.
Go get it, Jimmy. Like that being said, Crosstown Traffic. I want that whole fucking album to be Crosstown Traffic. That is a cool song, and I don't remember it. It's got to be on a movie or something, you know what I mean? It's so cinematic, just cool. And I think that was the thing. I was up and down with this record a lot, because I do like it to be a little bit more straightforward. Mm-hmm. And even yesterday when I had my headphones in and I'm listening to it on the train, the one thing that stood out to me was like, is this still the same fucking song? The second, it's so bold to put a 15-minute song fucking third track in or something like that. Yeah. So it goes Crosstown Traffic and then the really long song. Is that how it goes?
Yeah. So Voodoo Child. You know what's funny though is that it's a 15-minute long song, but it's one of his most iconic songs.
I think the version at the end,
The Slight Return, that is the version that most people. Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying
more about that, but
yeah, exactly. Just for my money, because it made it. It made me go, oh shit, like this isn't up to me. Like this is Jimmy's experience. Like, he put this together and you're going to take it the way that it is, because front to back, if I could pull that song out of the record, I'd be like, this is perfect. It's just for my money.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Nice.
But as far as listening to it, I wish there would have been like a little bit more time, so I could like get a little hallucinogenic experience and kind of get the feel for it, light some incense and some candles, and burn the house down or something. And it's just that cool song about burning a house down halfway through there. Anyway, it was I admire cool. You know what I mean? I think that there's like MCA from like the Beastie Boys, undeniably. You know what I mean? Like Amy Winehouse, like undeniably. You know what I mean? There's some people that like it doesn't matter like the genre, and it might not be something that I'm like listen to every day or whatever, but you can just point your finger at it and be like, that is fucking cool.
Yeah.
Or just listen to it. And I did get that feeling when I had it. So it was definitely a cool walk. And I was coming home from my brother's place yesterday, so I was like grooving on the train.
Nice.
Cross town.
So my experience with this album, so growing up I listened to Jimi Hendrix. I listened to a lot of classic rock growing up. My dad listens to a lot of music, and his
Jimmy.
Shout out.
Shout out Jimmy, shout out.
And his big love is classic rock, and so that's really what I grew up listening to a lot of. And he obviously is a Jimi Hendrix fan, but I wouldn't say he's like a fanatic about him. And so I heard the hits and stuff like that, but I didn't really get super into Jimi Hendrix. But I read I bought this I bought a biography on him when I was a teenager called Room Full of Mirrors by Charles Cross. It's the same guy that wrote that biography on Kurt Cobain that's really good, Heavier Than Heaven.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he wrote this
like
book
the
as well.
thickest book I've ever read.
Yeah. It's a great book. He's a great biographer of musicians. Anyways, so this book sort of opened me up to him
they're
as
both
a
from
person.
The same area too.
Yeah,
I wonder if that guy's from-
Seattle. Yeah,
interesting.
or Seattle area, and so that sort of opened me up to being more interested in him as a person, and then I dived back into the catalog, and when I found this record always stood out to me because I think it really is like his masterpiece, and he showcases his full scope of talent, and it really like takes you on a journey. Obviously it's a classic rock album, but there's also a lot of influence from jazz and blues and funk and like psychedelic rock.
Yeah.
And there's some like really slow moments and some really fast moments, and
there's some real sexy moments too.
Yeah.
Like, right off the top, like there's like that's the one thing I think that stays like all the way through. I think like you could make some babies to this thing. Like, for sure. Like that. I know Jimmy, like the rest of like the 90s kids, I think would be like Wayne's World and Garth doing Foxy Lady.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Coming into that. And like,
yeah, that was probably my first introduction to Jimi Hendrix. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Was that, I don't know, Purple Haze or something on the radio?
Yeah,
but,
Purple Haze.
But that, it definitely, it held me into the groove. I think what, the biggest bummer about listening to this record, I think, is that I just like enjoyed it by myself, which that was the thing that like this should be enjoyed with people. I think, you know what I mean? It's definitely, I don't know. It's not like a party record, but it's like a groove. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, it's an experience.
Oh, fuck! Cut it.
But yeah, and there's some really, some really quiet moments and really loud moments, and no two songs are the same. Like we were saying, even like Voodoo Child and The Slight Return are two completely different songs.
Oh my god, yeah, one is good and one not.
Yeah,
one soothes me to the core and one aggravates me to nonstop because I'm fucking sitting there and it's like, okay, so I left my house, played the first track, went and I believe I got I just some snacks or whatever from the grocery store, got on the train, went to my brother's house, maybe 20-minute train ride, 25-minute train ride. I'm halfway there and I'm like, okay, I'm not really, I think I zoned out, right? Because like I need lyrics. I think that's like the ADD or whatever is like undiagnosed in my head that like I can't focus on things that aren't straight. So I'm so like lyrically driven and everything that I listen to, whether that's probably why it's like a lot of like fast paced, like straightforward punk rock or like hip hop or something like that I'm like I can follow the like the line here and even kind of like relate to it because that's probably why I think I probably never like got into Jimi Hendrix like as a kid or whatever because it's all like and like it was cool but there was nobody like listening to that around me, so that wasn't like the the thing that I gravitated towards. Being 30 years old now, it's fucking cool as hell.
Yeah, I think that's it's interesting because I think I like have just recently realized that I'm not really like a lyric person. I don't even know what the lyrics of a song are really until I look it up.
Well, lyrics of a song are the words that are sung.
I understand the concept of lyrics.
Well, I don't think they had to know. Like that was come on, like hey, yeah. Is it the bus here?
But I don't think I really listen to the lyrics of a song unless I'm reading along with it. Like it's really the music that draws me and the beat and stuff like that draws me in. And so for me, like this album as a kid who I was just like looking to sort of escape from my reality from like my thoughts and stuff. And so this album was what
a day tripper right
drew
there.
me in, because you could get lost just in like a 15-minute song. And then it was like, like it was before I discovered drugs. It was sort of my way into a different consciousness was music like this. And then when I went to university and I started getting really into psychedelics and then listening to shit like this, then my brain just blew wide open.
Oh my god. For context, that makes so much sense. I did acid on my 13th birthday. When I heard this shit, I was like, that's not fucking trippy. Like, I will show you trippy here.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Like, shut up, Jimmy. That's not how it sounds. Oh man, cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So since this album, and since Jimi Hendrix, he sort of has like this lore around him as, you know, being a pretty groovy guy.
A little bit, yeah.
And you know, this album and his music in general is sort of associated with psychedelics.
Yeah.
So what is, I don't want to say your favorite, but what is your, or one of your most memorable or notable psychedelic experiences?
Well, like I just said, my 13th birthday got a little weird, a little wild at the end there. So, like, I'm not gonna, like, to say that I've had a lot of them would be like a bit of an understatement. Definitely grew up in an area where like magic mushrooms are like very popular and acid was like going around and stuff. So there was a lot of those experiences that I could definitely tell you some crazy stories. But I think like one in I'll do two. One quick one that was wild and is interesting because like mushrooms in general, I think really connect you to the earth in some weird way. I don't know anything about like any kind of spirituality or anything like that, but like if there is like a key to unlock,
Yes.
then I think it would be like probably close to like psilocybin or
Yeah, I agree.
in that realm. But there was a long time that I kind of ran away from them because I did them so much in like my like teenage years, all through high school, that anytime that I did them, they weren't exciting to me anymore. Like anytime like I could take some, whether any way you're doing tea and you're not taking enough, like I've eaten 14 grams of them in one sitting, and they want to talk fucking hero dose. 16 years old with my friend. Well, he's got a kid now, so I won't say his name on the thing here, but wild experience. But like, so in the sense of like grounding you back to earth. One night I was on those mushrooms and I was walking with a group of friends of mine, and we were drinking R&R, which like if you're from Canada, the dirtiest bottle of gasoline whiskey that's on the shelf. Everybody that's underage drinks it. Since I've been old enough to drink, I haven't tried it, but it's wild. And I would throw it up all the time because I wasn't as good at boozing back in the day. You know, you really had to get to this to the level. And I'm walking down the road, and me and my friends were finishing this bottle and just like shooting it back. But like for whatever reason, we were on these mushrooms, and we were talking about, well, it's crazy. Like, you know, you could do anything on mushrooms. You could drink whiskey straight, no problem. And I finished the bottle and I just threw it into this bush. And that was the end of the end of that night or whatever. You know, we just kind of continued on and did whatever we did. Nothing notable that I can remember from that evening. But a few weeks later, I was walking down the same road with a different group of friends, high on mushrooms again, telling them about the previous weekend, going like, oh man, me and so were back here and we were finishing this bottle of R&R and blah, blah, blah. And we threw it in the bushes, and you know what? I think it's right here. And I just reached on no word of a lie, maybe, you know, fucking kid, 15, 16 or something like that. And we're just walking along this road that has just a heavy bush next to it. And I just didn't break step, and I just reached into the bush and I pulled the fucking bottle out. Yeah. And my friends were in disbelief, but also like, there's no way I set that up. Like they were like, holy shit, that was the coolest thing you ever did. And as soon as I grabbed it, I just freaked out and let it go. I was like, ah, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't understand that the universe, like, you know, could do that, or like I had any kind of like, you know, beacon or whatever to where I was, you know, tripping on those same substances or whatever, like a couple weeks later. Yeah. So like that was a cool one. Mm-hmm. And another one, anybody from Trail, British Columbia, the town that I grew up in, that was doing hallucinogens in the early 2000s, I'm going to put this at like 2004 to 2006, will remember this stuff called Datura. And any of our listeners out here, I implore you to look up this stuff called Datura. And it is a derivative from a cactus, I believe, that when we got it, it was dried kind of like powdery leaves or whatever, right? It kind of tasted like oregano. And this guy that sold it to us was like, I don't know if I should be giving this to you, because we were like all the neighborhood kids. So we're like, no, just give us an ounce of it. And the guy's like, no, like you take like a very small pinch of this stuff and it will fuck your life up. And we're like, yeah, whatever. Like we do mushrooms and acid all the time.
Right.
Like give us the thing. Like we were, you know, we thought we were pretty like, you know, we're psychonauts. We're going to the moon on whatever you could, whatever we, you know, could get our hands on. And when we got our hands on this stuff, it was wild because everybody was kind of a little scared to take it, because this kind of like mushroom man from the hills or wherever we got this from, there's something about this guy that was a little bit off, and I wasn't there when we got them, but you know what I mean. So the story through the friends was there, and a good friend of mine, I'm not gonna say his name either, but he's dead now, so it probably doesn't matter. But a good friend of mine named Shane, we were sitting in a garage, and we were like, fuck that, like we'll try them. Who cares? Like we'll guinea pig it for the night. And basically we took them, and no, sorry. Oh my God. Oh, this is shit. It's all coming back to me. The first night, me and a different friend who will remain nameless, I did them with him in his house. And I think after about 2 hours, nothing happened. And we were sitting there going like, what the fuck? Like we were going to go back to this guy's house and like get our money back. Like this is ridiculous. We're not feeling anything here. And then it happened, and it was the most intense, vivid hallucinations that I've ever had in my entire life, to the point where he had a bunch of records on his wall, kind of like similar to this, and I could hear, he had all of his dad's records on the wall, so they're like old like rock stuff or whatever that we weren't even really listening to at the time. It was like Onyx and Ice Cube and like Tupac and stuff was like what we were like really into. And he had this Motley Crue record, Shout at the Devil, on the wall. And if you've ever seen it, it's just a black record with a red pentagram on it. And I'm sitting there and I could just see it. It's record. It's like,
oh God.
I know it in my head, right? Because like I've done like, I'm never a guy that's like the walls are dripping or anything like that. Like I've done enough drugs to know that like if you get into that, you know, you're it's more so in your head than anything else, right? And you're not going to see.
The first time I did shrooms, I kept saying the sky is paisley.
And it very well may have been. That's what I'll go with because right? Of the cloud pattern and stuff like that. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Right, but in the sense like there was a leprechaun that came out and like follow me. That will happen on this shit. Because I'm sitting there just like playing that song in my head. It's like shout, shout, shout at the devil. And I'm like, whoa, like this is wild. And I get up and I take a tin that we like put cigarettes in. And I put like 5 or 6 joints in there and like a couple cigarettes, and I close that tin and I set it safely on top of this beer fridge. And it's the most vivid memories that like I'll ever have. And all my friends are in the room and they're sitting there and they're asking us like, is it kicking in yet? Like, is it kicking in yet? Is it kicking in yet? And I'm like, I close my eyes and I'm like, shut the fuck up. And I open my eyes and the room is black. There's been nobody in this room for maybe like an hour and a half.
God.
And my buddy's sitting in the corner like looking at me like, are you okay? Okay, man? And I'm like, whoa, like what happened? And like God. It like that's why the guy that gave us
and your friend was tripping as well,
his balls off.
Oh my God, that's the worst when you're tripping and you're with someone and they start freaking out. You're like, I'm gonna need you to get away from me because this is gonna fuck me up.
We had this thing like because we were told that like if you get too happy on this stuff, you're gonna want to go on an adventure, and like you will follow like a yellow brick road into like oncoming traffic because like that's what it is or something like that. It's like that dangerous, right? So we just made like we locked the basement door and we did like a very elaborate set of like blockades that we couldn't fucking remove when we were so fucked up. Yeah. And then we just had access to his bathroom so that we could keep getting water. Right. And so we just figured like this is okay. Right? So like we were both sitting there with like empty milk jugs, like probably just young kids. 14 is such a bummer to think about now. Like I'm sorry, Mom, Dad, because you listen to this, but so yeah, we're sitting there with like just like empty milk jugs of water, just trying to get through this like intense psychedelic experience. Yeah. And then and there was a moment where I'm looking across the room at my friend and he's saying like, wow, thank you. And he's talking to his little sister who'd like drew him a picture. And he's just like looking at this picture just in awe. And he like looks over at me and is like, check it out, Johnny. And I'm like mortified right now, being like, is she there or is he tripping? Because like that's how fucked up you are. Right. Where I'm like, everybody was just here a minute ago and now they're not. And now he sees somebody. right? So like it
Right.
just plays in your head. And then
Yeah.
in the morning when we came to, I was sitting there and I was telling him about, you know, we're kind of trading stories back and forth and kind of like putting the night together. We're like, that shit is fucking crazy. So I'm like, well, hey, at least I got these joints and these cigarettes or whatever. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sold weed at the time and shit like that. He knew I didn't have any cigarettes. So he's like,
Yeah.
well, where did you get these from unless you stole them from me?
Yeah.
Like, I go and I find this tin and I open it up and there was nothing there. And even to this day, like I still vividly remember like that. And that is wild. Yeah, so Daitra, that and 14 hits of gravel will fuck you up more.
I think I mean, back when I first started doing psychedelics, we would take like bigger doses and it would be like a trip. It would be like an all day type thing, at least with acid. In Montreal,
Oh, it's like a shift, yeah.
in Montreal, acid is way bigger than shrooms, and on the island, shrooms is way bigger than acid. And so my time in university with psychedelics, it was mostly acid, which is an all-day thing. Yeah. And so I think, I mean, it's all good memories. I don't really have like a really bad trip, but
There's never a moment where you bit off too much, like more than you could chew? Like even a deep
there
breath?
has
Like,
been there has been moments where I've definitely felt like I've taken, especially because most of my friends are guys, and so I'll just do however much they do. But I think most of the time
this
I
is like,
can
you
sort
gotta
of
stop doing that.
I know. But most of the time I can sort of talk myself down from it, again, because I didn't start till I was like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't like, I don't know, I've never really been scared of it, and I've never lost, even when I'm like tripping and things get kind of weird, I never lose sight of the fact that I'm tripping and it's going to be okay.
That's the best thing that you can do. There's a lot of people who will ask me I don't know, if you've been down that road a lot of times, and some people, you know, look for like a little guidance. Like I'm not a Sherpa, so like I don't like doing drugs with people that aren't experienced in them and stuff like that. So I like turn down a lot of offers for somebody's like first acid trip or first mushroom trip kind of thing like that. This doesn't really excite me, but like I'll do your 10th acid trip with you, because like fuck yeah, because if you can experience that. But like my number one advice is always, if you're not really excited to do it, then don't. Yes. Or if you don't have a head on your shoulders that knows if you can't pull yourself out of the deep end once you get in it, like you have to sit through it and wait it out.
And I think probably because I'm such a like an introspective person and like an introvert, and I live so much inside of my head already, it's not like I'm going to places I've never been before, but it's not freaking me out because I spend a lot of time inside my head.
It's not scary. I mean,
because
see where I've been there on a good day.
I talk more to myself than I do to other people.
Totally. I like because it's not, I don't have my inner monologue. Like when I'm like on hallucinogens, that's a great thing. Like it shuts like the inner monologue off. I'm constantly talking to myself. So, with anything like a hallucinogen like that, it turns that section of my brain off, but it does make me like more aware, like to, either like the world around me or like my own behavior and like what I'm doing and stuff like that. So I'm noticing it, but when I'm not there, then I have to have a conversation in my head about it to come to like that understanding. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, so my first time ever doing psychedelics, and it was acid, and I can't remember. I think I was second year university, so it would have been 1920. And it was me and my friend. I'll just say their first names. They probably won't watch this anyways. Cody and George.
Fuck you, Cody and George.
No.
No? We like them?
Yeah. Shout out to Cody and George. I miss you guys.
I still stand by my statement.
I love you guys. But we took acid and we went to the museum in Montreal. And we're just walking around looking at the art, and then we come across this huge like painting, and it's so hard to describe, but it basically depicts like a slaughter, except it's like villagers slaughtering beavers. And it's this wild depiction, and like it's this particular artist.
Photo. Like I might have pilgrims and shit.
I might have shown it to you because I've told you this story before.
Yeah, like buckle hats and shit.
Yeah, it is crazy, and we were just
gruesome.
And we were just watching it, looking at it, tripping, and being like, "What the fuck fuck is this shit?
Gotta get that pelt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're
It
about
was
that
like-
pelt life.
And there's
then-
like beavers in the sky, like all beavers go to heaven. And
well, if I get to heaven and there's no beaver there, then
Yeah.
I'd be pissed. That's terrible.
and so anyways, we had so much fun in the museum. So then we go back to my apartment and we start just watching TV shows and stuff. And then my friend Akiva comes over. Shout out to Akiva. We'd already been tripping like the whole day, but he decided to do a bunch of acid to try and catch up with us. And so then he takes, whatever we had left. And then Cody decides we're looking for something to watch. And he decides to put on a Spike Lee joint, School Days, which is a very intense movie, as all Spike Lee joints are.
Yeah, I'm going bamboozled if I'm on acid.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to watch anything but that.
Well, I don't know. Bamboozle's pretty fucking wild too.
But Cody was
kind of a joke there.
insistent.
Maybe do the right thing.
He was like, I've been meaning to watch this movie for a while. Let's just watch it right now. My first time on acid is a super fucking intense movie. Basically, I couldn't tell you the plot. I mean, I have no idea what happened in that movie, but like I remember the themes of it more vividly than I remember anything else in my life. But basically, it was about the whole the main part of it is that it's about the politics between light-skinned black people and dark-skinned black people.
Careful, Jackie.
And it's sort of,
where are we going? Careful.
I'm telling you about the fucking movie.
Careful.
And it's based in this school, and it becomes this whole political thing within this school. Anyways, so we watch the fucking movie. It's super intense, especially when you're tripping on acid for the first time. And the movie ends with this guy. They're at a school dance, and one of the main characters breaks the fourth wall, looks directly into the camera, and says, "Wake up." And then it, fades to black.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
And we're sitting there like, holy fuck. And we were sitting there for a while, and I remember Akiva was like, does anyone else need to watch like a Hillary Duff music video to cleanse the palate? And so then we watched like some Hillary Duff music videos.
Fuck is Akiva?
And then
his role in this story is fantastic. I just want to say, like, if that's where he's just gonna show up late, take a bunch of acid, and then cleanse the palate with some Duff.
Yeah, we decided to go for a walk around campus. And we were looking at all the buildings, and I forget who it was, but someone said, I really want to climb something right now. And I remember looking at the buildings and being like, no, like, this isn't a good idea.
Lame.
And then, but then, anyone who's been to Montreal, Mount Royal is right in the middle of the city, and that's right where I lived. And so we're like, why don't we just fucking climb up the mountain? And the thing about Mount Royal is that it's not really, if you live in BC, if you're from BC, you and you've been to Montreal, you know that it's not really a real mountain. It's very easy to climb up. There's footpaths and stairs.
Yeah, mountain is not a thing that I ever want to climb. Like, a mountain takes like a couple days.
Yeah, there's stairs and stuff that goes up the whole mountain, but we wanted to make a challenge for ourselves. Are
you describing a hill?
It's more, it's like a glorified hill is what Mount Royal is. But but we wanted to make it a challenge for ourselves. And so there's all these footpaths and stairs, and we veer off the beaten path. And so we're just like scaling the mountain beside the stairs.
So is it like broad daylight and people walking up the stairs?
No, it's nighttime. It's nighttime. And so we're scaling up the mountain. We eventually get to the top, and there's this whole lookout point. And at the top, you see the whole city. And we were looking out, and it was silent for a second. And then all of a sudden, one of my friends just yells, "Wake up!" And then all of us are fucking tripping on acid, yelling into the city, "Wake up!"
Do you think you got your message across?
I think the people heard us.
Did you think that the day after the people of Montreal were like, Do you think anybody woke up at that moment?
Sometimes I think about if
I love it. Like there's a classic Simpsons moment of something like you pan over and the neighbor's like, "How will you shut the fuck up?" And slams the window down like house party. Wake up! See, this is the problem. This is the problem with hallucinogens. Is that you will have the most significant moments ever that are completely insignificant in the long run. You know what I mean? But like at that time, like when you're sitting there and you're trying to explain
fucking thing in the world, yeah.
Like that's always my favorite thing is trying to put that experience into words, you know what I mean, for the next person coming down the road. Like, and that's why you get these like so many cliches and so many you know, kind of similar tales that are yeah, I guess that's like the popular version of what happens, but like you gotta, you know, you gotta pull them underwear down and look for yourself, you know, to see what's really happening down there, because it's pretty fucking wild.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
Did you just wake up?
We've done one question.
Oh, dude, yeah. It's a new format for the show. It's fun.
Yeah. So another part of the sort of the lore around this album and just Jimi Hendrix, his, you know, whole persona is that he was sort of known for being an extreme perfectionist. And so on this album, him and his drummer, Mitch Mitchell, they did like 50 takes of Gypsy Eyes. And Hendrix, a lot of the times he would record his vocals behind like a screen so no one could see him because he was insecure about his voice. And as the recording went on for this album, Jimi Hendrix's producer and manager, Chaz Chandler, grew so frustrated that he quit because Hendrix was just doing, you know, dozens and dozens of takes for everything.
50 takes? Gypsy Eyes, man, cool song, but come the fuck on.
So I think artists in general are kind of known for being perfectionists, but I think comedians, they're kind of rare in the fact it's one of the only, you know, forms of art or a kind of artist where you can't really be a dick about your artwork because you still kind of have to be likable to be successful. There are exceptions, but for the most part of your
exception and the rule to that is like somebody being so confident in their ability to be funny and to play that character of a dick, then it's undeniable and it works, right? Like if you're just a fucking asshole. Yeah,
so you're as a comedian, your success.
Yeah, musicians get away with that shit all the time.
Yeah, your success like hinges on your likability, and so are there things that you find yourself being a perfectionist about, or are there moments when you realize that the people like around you are annoyed and you're being a dick and you keep going, and like
so
how and how do you like balance being like true to your art and the way you want it to be while still being someone that people want to spend time around?
Simple. Don't strive for perfection. Do you know what I mean in that sense? Like,
but do you ever feel like you need something to be?
I want validation. Like I definitely want to, but like I'm lucky enough in the sense that like I have like you as like somebody in comedy. There's a lot of people that are just kind of going up there on their own, and if I wrote a joke today, I'm just gonna go and try it. Where that's crazy. Like get a friend in comedy that you respect their opinion and you think they're funny as well, right? So like I have the opportunity of like, you know, every joke that I try on stage, I've tried on somebody that I respect your opinion, or like even like my fucking tweets and shit, you've edited half, you know what I mean, half of them, because if you can bounce that word works a little better there, or whatever, you know what I mean, and I can take a little bit of confidence from that and know that at least I know that I'm going in the right direction. Now not having the opportunity to work on something a little bit bigger, because I am nervous about putting stuff out. Just, you know what I mean, for consumers' eyes or whatever, you just want it to be as good as possible. There does come a point where you do, I think, kind of have to like just rip the Band-Aid off and start doing them.
Yeah.
But on the same hand, I think that I just want everything to be like to have my stamp of approval, and I'm fucking happy that I don't have that brain of I need to do 50 takes. This could be a little bit better because it's especially with like telling jokes and stuff, it's different on every night with a different, you know, depending on who's in the audience and what the energy in the room is, you know what I mean? So there's a bunch of different factors or whatever that comes into that. Whereas if you're that talented, then you can just kind of and like when the band kicks in, like you're like you control the, you know, the crowd that room. So I mean, I'm definitely like a dick to be around in the sense of like striving for perfection of like busting my friend's balls and, you know what I mean, or trying to get the joke, like having an idea and, you know, and overworking it or something like that. You get mad at me all the time at the end of the evening if I'm just like finding an angle and just like working it too hard and just trying to, you know what I mean, like, you know, just like as like a friend, you know, so no, but you know, but you will like you'll get annoyed if I'm like barking up the wrong tree in the wrong angle for too long, like, you know what I mean, fucking cool it or whatever, right? So like I can, you know, definitely like poke the bear or whatever, but none of that's ever gonna make it to the set. So
I feel like I am definitely a perfectionist about most things, and I feel like that's something that I have tried to let go a bit over the last few years. I mean, even when we first got to film school, I really struggled, like when we were workshopping stuff, to take other people's notes and accept the fact that they might know, they might be able to add something to my work that's better than that might improve it more than exactly how I was picturing it.
That's a hard hit to the ego to kind of like to
put
yourself
it's not even
there.
Really, I mean, it is obviously an ego thing, but I don't know. I think I just like have this certain way.
Which notes are.
Yeah, you know, and and especially like definitely with like visual things, I'll just like obsess over something forever. Like when we were like just editing the last podcast and just like moving, you know, just little things, moving around little things forever that doesn't really, no one else would really notice.
Well, that's why we make a good team. I think like you do need that like eye for detail and at the same time too, you might need somebody to go just fucking press send.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like you know, lots of times it's rare that I'll like come off from a set and be like, that was fucking awesome every time. I'm like,
I've never seen you do that.
Like it could have been fucking better.
Yeah, I've never seen you do that. Yeah, you always can improve on something. You've seen me come off and be like, fuck yeah. You hear that shit? Who's next? But that's, I don't know, that's a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I might be like a little too like big for my britches on that thing too, but like I don't know. Like a lot of the time, it comes from the stress of me wanting something to be good. So like I can take it for what it is and accept the fact that okay, yeah, maybe I missed that thing or this didn't go the way that I wanted it to, but overall,
right,
you know, I could be okay with it. And I do kind of like I like that kind of a little bit more balls to the wall. Hey, let's try something here. And I think that shows in the music that I listen to, I think too, right? I like it to be a little bit more raw, a little bit, you know. Yeah, rather than maybe even like experiment. You know, I mean, I guess like you experimented for a bunch of times, but like, I mean, if you're going to tell me that Voodoo Child, a 15-minute song, had 50 different fucking takes.
Voodoo Child,
I was going to say, like, I would fucking blow my head off if that was the case.
Yeah.
Gypsy has a cool song, though. I did right there.
But, yeah, no, I think...
I do respect it. I do respect it immensely. I think it's really cool. I just don't have the eye for it.
But I think you can't be too far. I mean, like, you know, Jimi Hendrix could do it because he's a fucking musician and he's a genius, and no one cares if you're a dick. If you're putting out, not to say he was a dick, but like in the studio, probably everyone in there thought he was.
I would think it'd just be like unsufferable for the point to be like, oh.
Yeah, but then the music comes out and you're like, fuck. Pretty fucking good, but you can't do that as
Jimi Hendrix experience. It's not the fucking Max Maxwell or whoever the fuck.
But you can't.
Mitch Mitchell.
Mitch Mitchell, yeah.
First name guy. Like it's not the Max Maxwell experience.
Max Maxwell.
You know, and I was not taking anything away from him.
But yeah, I feel like you can't really
do
that. I feel like you can't really do that as a comedian. Yeah. You still need to be likable. You still want people to be around you, and I think it's not healthy to be entirely to be so obsessive about the work that you he put out.
Mm-mm.
And
Yeah,
I
think it's more. I don't know. I'm.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think
I just wanna have some fun.
yeah, I think I benefit from your point of view. It
Yeah,
makes me
yeah,
less
and-
obsessive about
Yeah,
things.
and me yours as well, because I'll write something and go, like there's a better angle here. Like there a lot of times, like I just think something's funny on a bass line, and with a rewrite, obviously it does improve. So definitely meeting in the middle there is probably
Yeah.
a little bit more ideal.
And so on a sort of similar note, so as you're saying, All Along the Watchtowers on this album, which is a fucking great song. It's a Bob Dylan song. And
A quote from my dad: "If you want to hear the best Bob Dylan song you've ever heard, listen to somebody else sing a Bob Dylan song. Bang! I love you, Dad." And I absolutely agree with that.
but even
I didn't mention my dad on the last one, so he got me.
yeah. But Bob Dylan himself has said that Jimi Hendrix sort of took this song to new levels that he never would have been able to.
Yeah.
And that the way that he interpreted this song affected how then Dylan played the song going forward.
Oh, really?
And he says
cool.
that like the Jimi Hendrix version of the song is like the definitive version of this song.
That's fucking. What a pat on the back. That's
yeah.
cool. That's
and
really rad.
so, do you feel like all work of like genius or like art, even if it's assigned to one particular person, it's ultimately really the result of collaboration? Or do you think there's something to having a thing that's entirely yours and being sort of precious about
It's
it?
so hard to say because music is music, and like I'm not a musician, right? Like we write jokes,
But not
you know what I
even
mean? Or
just
stories
music.
and
I
stuff
mean like
that.
a
So
work,
just-
any
just
work of art.
any work in art.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if I'm gonna equate it to like what I do, like I take. It's pretty silly, but like if you read something on like my Twitter or my Instagram, just roll your eyes. I fucking worked hard at that just to be, to get it to like where it is, and there's like a sense of like ownership that comes with that, right? Like so if that's and any time like you respect comedy to the point that like if you see somebody stealing a bit, like fuck you, like then no, that's not true. Like
Yeah, stealing
so-
a bit is different from
it
working
is, yeah,
together.
exactly.
on
But
something, yeah.
but
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like in a sense like covering a song, right? So like
Yeah.
you just don't see that. So like in music, for it to be the ultimate form of flattery, there's so many covers that are like you said, just the definitive version of that song. I
Yeah.
think so much better than the original or whatever the case. Like even like locally in punk rock, a punk cover, nothing will get like that's what gets me into like other music first. You know what I mean? Like me
Right.
first in the Gimme Gimmes will do
Yep.
something, or I'll go to
Yeah.
a show and every punk band has a has their thing. Fuck, You Big Idiot does Torn. You've seen them. Have you been to one of their shows live?
We went.
We went to like Fortune or whatever, right? Did you see them do? And the Corpse, when they did the
They
Corpse.
didn't do a Torn. They did Zombie.
Oh, they did. In
Yeah.
the makeup. Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Before that, they would do Torn, and like so like I love a cover so fucking much.
Yeah,
right. Like
yeah,
when they get
same.
and like and they're just a silly band, right? Or like fucking. But when
Yeah.
you see them going lying naked on the floor, like there's something that like adds to it. So I imagine that like when Bob Dylan is going, hearing Jimmy go like whoa along the watchtower, fucking like that. That vocal is the coolest shit ever.
And
Like
then
it'll
for-
put you right in there. So I do think like in the sense of like the ultimate form of flattery.
Yeah.
It's just really funny to me that it can't work both ways for at least for comedy in particular.
But like for him to say that the Jimi Hendrix version then sort of changed how he did
Oh,
it
and that's
going
the collaborative
forward.
sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what
Because
you're
it's sort
saying.
of working off of each other.
I think if you are the person covering it and that turns out to be the case afterwards, you did a good fucking. That's just the ultimate pat on the back, I think. If that's the way that, like, if Bob was to do it in Jimmy's version but do something cool to it, and then Jimmy changed the way that he did it, you know what I mean, and it kept going back and forth like that, as like an ultimate
Yeah.
kind of collaborating, like the song would just grow forever. Then that would be cool. Obviously, you don't have like the lifespan or whatever for for that to have been a thing.
Yeah. I just
But
think
I
like
just think that's so fucking cool.
yeah. And I think like the way our sort of culture is that we just assign, like one name to something, like a joke or a song or a show or whatever,
Yeah,
a movie,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, hours.
But in truth, like even if you tell a joke, chances are you've probably workshopped that with someone before, and someone has added on to it, or you've told it in front of a crowd,
Yeah.
and they've sort of given you feedback that you then mix into it going forward because of a moment that you had with someone in the audience. Or like when you watch a show, you know, it's a writer's room. And when you watch a roast and someone goes on and fucking kills, they have a whole team of writers behind them. And so I feel like because again, like with going back to being a perfectionist, I struggle with just like wanting everything to be mine and like wanting it to be my thing.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm realizing more is that like everything that like is great and that I love, even if in my head I associate it with one person, ultimately it's all the result of collaboration. Genius is the result of collaboration.
Definitely.
Every fucking, even though Jimi Hendrix is clearly the driving force behind this album, and it's his perfectionism that made it as great as it wasn't like he was alone on any of these songs.
Hot dog, Jackie. And it came to the fucking yeah.
And like even and along with his band, he had tons of people within the studio watching. You know, it was all back and forth. You know, it's never just one fucking person. Even though there are obviously geniuses out there, but they're never working completely alone.
95%.
There might be some writers.
I would say like 90% of the stuff that I'll ever, you know, like put out into the world or whatever, you've had eyes on. Unless I know that that's so fucking funny that it's going to make you laugh the first time that you see it or whatever. Yeah. You know, then it's there. So like, am I 10% genius? Probably. So like to answer your question, yes.
All right. Moving on to the final
final one? Okay, cool.
So another
we keep it low budget here, guys. Come on. Bring us home, Jackie. Where are we going?
So, I don't know if you know this, but a fun fact about Jimi Hendrix is that he was very into science fiction.
Yeah?
Yeah, which comes out a bit in...
A bit of a star child, I can get that.
Yeah, so it comes out a bit in Voodoo Child, which is a song that we've been talking about a lot.
I did not read the lyrics.
So this song, it's full of references to classic blues music, but he also threw in a lot of references to like other worldly things.
This part I was excited about because I definitely grooved to the record. I didn't go like in depth. What are we talking about? What's the... Yeah,
so
what's the point of these songs? This
song, it kind of blends his two loves of blues music and science fiction, which is kind of what we're doing here.
Okay.
We're blending. We both love music.
Yes, we do.
And we both love the paranormal.
Oh, I want to believe.
Thinking about things that may or may not... but definitely do exist.
Obvious fucking duh. Where are we going, Jax?
We
went aliens last week. What are we
Let's talk about Bigfoot.
Fuck yes.
So,
okay, what do you got for me?
These are the questions I have about Bigfoot.
Yes, all of them. No, I'm just
He is a solitary creature, but does he procreate? And if so, what do Bigfoot babies look like? And like, are there other big feet that he meets up with? Is it exclusively Bigfoot on Bigfoot, or is it like a cross species is there a community of big feet out there doing Bigfoot on big feet crime? But is there do they breed specifically with other big feet, or does the big feet
like a hybrid species?
But yeah, he can.
Great question.
He can bang He can bang humans or bears, and it just comes out as a Bigfoot.
That is, I mean, I don't know if you know how DNA works, but like if a Bigfoot fucks a bear and makes another Bigfoot, like if the dominant gene is just Bigfoot and a Bigfoot can fuck anything, then that's gonna blow. That's gonna blow a hole. That's gonna blow a Bigfoot dick hole size hole in all my theories.
Another question. the name is Bigfoot, so you gotta assume he's rocking a massive schlong on him.
Oh, that's a
and
great.
if so, if you
Jeez, are you gonna ask me a fucking question, or are you just making statements here?
evidence of Bigfoot is rampant in video footage, but what we don't ever find is Bigfoot cum. We don't ever find evidence of their splooge anywhere, which would presumably be monstrous.
Ladies
Thoughts?
and gentlemen, don't mind while I go off the rails. So first of all, Jackie, that was quite the line of questions. To address that from the top, I don't know if I'm going to be able to remember where we started or how we got to, but in the sense of like, is there a Bigfoot out there blowing loads in any living creature creating Bigfoot? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because I want to believe in Bigfoot so much, but that negates all my other knowledge of the natural world that I'm going to have to put that one on the back burner for now, although it's a fascinating question, and I think that we should get into it a little bit more.
But if they have to breed with other Bigfoot, how do they breed? Because it's always just one.
That's a great question, Jackie.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you asked it.
Okay.
So what I was talking to you about last week was like interdimensional beings, right? So there's this theory that Bigfoot can also appear as like an interdimensional being. A lot of the Bigfoot sightings that we see don't just have Bigfoot like nobody's like seen Bigfoot and he's like, oh shit, and he starts like running away.
Yeah, he's always just
a lot of times like
lurking.
Yeah, also it's a great Kyle Kinane joke. It's like that's why Bigfoot's so laid back like that. Just got done fucking.
Yeah.
You always see him just cruising like that.
But where's the evidence?
Where's the evidence of the splooge? Like
exactly. Does he just chuck
what
his
if it's like
loads
the
in
witch?
everyone, or is he?
No,
does he
you know when you're
practice
walking
the
through like
pull-out
the
method?
you know when you're walking through the forests of the Pacific Northwest and you see the like the witch's hair hanging from the trees. That could be tons of evidence of Bigfoot. We don't know the density, the consistency. We don't know even like he could be shooting ropes literally.
That's true.
You know, we don't know that.
Yeah.
Right, but what we do know
Moss.
is that
could be Moss.
He could be very like courteous about where he chucks the load. You know what I mean? Like a good house guest. Oh my god. Oh my god. Shelby, I love you, but I'm telling a story. My best friend in the world, this motherfucker, he's got so many good stories. He's going to be on one day when we convince him to, and he's going to tell some of them to you. But this is a story about a friend of his that has stuck with me forever because it's so fucking asinine that you would, hang out with a person who would do you this dirty. Okay, so we're all, Shelby is just like the rest of us, right? Young, kids that were into metal at the time because I believe the t-shirt in question was Metallica. So what happens is there's a friend that's just always having sleepovers at his buddy's house. No problem, right? Harmless fun as kids, right? So this kid's been spending like 10 years sleeping at this guy's house, like in the basement, on the couch, in the area, right? This guy's been chucking loads into his buddy's Metallica t-shirt, and Justice for All maybe was the album, but not Injustice for this fucking shirt, and injustice to this shirt because your friend's been fucking blowing loads into this thing for like 10 years, hiding it under like the stairs or something like that. I don't know all the specifics of this story. It's just what I can remember from, the times that my friend has told me it. Yeah. But it stuck with me forever because I would murder that son of a bitch. First of all, for taking like a cool shirt, out of the closet, like, bro, take a sock. Yeah. Or do something, you know what I mean? Like if you've decided that you're just gonna jerk off at my house comfortably, do something. Like come on.
The bathroom.
Don't make it so that we graduate and my mom finds it under the stairs like 10 years later. I don't know if that's the actual situation of how it worked out, but it's just absolutely horrific, right? So in the sense of Bigfoot and where's he coming and stuff like that, maybe he could just be like a really courteous house guest. Busting nuts and just like maybe he like catches it in his palm and like rubs it off on the ground, or maybe he like goes like right into his belly hair and just like lets it like crust up or something like that. I don't know. I don't know how Bigfoot gets down. But you're on the assumption that because he's so big that he's like out there asserting his dominance, just busting loads on the side of pine trees, which I don't know if that's the case. But I would like to believe.
Yeah, I assume that if he's known for his big feet, he's got to be.
Oh, he's busted for sure.
Somewhere. And like, why is that not in the video? Why don't you see like a big old
the Zapruder? Oh no, it's not the Zapruder
around.
film. That's the fucking JFK. In the Zapruder film, you clearly see Bigfoot on the grass. It's the Parker tapes or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but the one, the classic one, Pacific Northwest Bigfoot,
Yes.
just like kind of cruising. There was a lot of people saying that there was like the guy who allegedly was in the suit has come to light and all that stuff. There's the Z. Oh man, I'm fucking blowing it on my Bigfoot facts here.
It's all good.
Patterson. It's Patterson tapes. Anyway, what you get from the Patterson tapes is a version of Bigfoot that kind of Chewbacca-esque, chilling and stuff like that. And I believe he kind of lives like on his own. Like if Chewbacca was really out there fucking like that, then I think like you would see like a more laid back kind of community, like Eyes Wide Shut, Bigfoot kind of parties like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a lot more lubricants being delivered to the woods in bulk. But if Bigfoot's not necessarily getting down like that, then, maybe what could happen, like he might have like a red rocket like type, like a dog type penis or something like inside of him. Like I think it's wrong for us to assume his like humanoid, genitals swinging the way, that like ours would.
Yeah.
So like he might have 5 feet of dick, but it's just up in his torso.
Right.
And you don't know until, but again, the Bigfoot mating habits and stuff like that, I'm kind of okay with, keeping a secret because it's private information, right?
I want to know the details.
I know you do, right? But I'm not fucking Charles Darwin out here looking at finches on the Galapagos Islands. I'm just out here, just really trying to admire a species that's trying to remain elusive. And I'm doing everything that I can to protect that elusivity. But in the sense of interdimensional being, where a lot of people, Bigfoot sightings just end with like a Bigfoot vanishing into thin air. Now we get to the part where there's a theory that I read where like aliens exist above and like a Bigfoot will more be like, kind of like a foot soldier. And where humans become arrogant is like, why don't the aliens want to communicate with us? It would be like us going to... like it would be you and me getting in like a magic school bus type situation. Be like, hey, Miss Frizzle, take us to Charlie Sheen's body, and then we get there, and all we want to do is talk to AIDS, right? Like that's probably a virus taking over that, like the celestial body that was once, a great thing, right? So we can't really explore Charlie Sheen the way that we want to explore Charlie Sheen. We just have to get to the bottom of it and not talk to the AIDS that are infecting the planet. So I think that maybe like a Bigfoot is kind of there taking like, samples.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like understanding mycelium networks and stuff that like, cover like fucking 90% of the I don't know if I don't know numbers, but like there's a lot of shit going on that I think like humans think we're so important that when aliens got here, they want to talk to us.
Yeah.
So that's why Bigfoot is elusive, because he's like, fuck these guys. Like they don't even know. Like I could just like vanish and get back to the ship or something like that.
I'm just curious.
So I'm not saying that that's the case, but I just thought that was like an interesting.
About the Bigfoot babies. Where do they hide?
Well, I mean,
maybe we just think they're like baby bears when we see them.
I mean, that would be great cover.
Yeah.
Like a Bigfoot is like a bear until it loses its baby teeth.
And then
like,
until it walks.
All bears are baby Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Show me a better fucking theory.
This is a working theory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally open to it. I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
And I think it's kind of like octopus, because they're solitary creatures too, until it comes to mating, and then all of a sudden they find another octopus. You never see two octopus. It's very rare to see two octopus
I've
together.
never seen one octopus on its own other than like a plate.
It's very rare to see two octopus together unless they're mating.
Wow.
So maybe it's like an octopus situation where it's like Bigfoot roam alone until it's time to get down and continue the species.
Do you think
and
that,
then they
like,
find other Bigfoot.
Do you like, okay, so like when it's like moose are in like the rut or something they call it, so like when they're making noise and they're just like scratching their antlers on the sides of trees and shit, do you think Bigfoot's just out there just smacking his dick against a tree?
Yeah.
Just like thud.
And also I feel like Bigfoot is always characterized as male, but what about like the big she's out there?
See, I was gonna actually get into this a little bit earlier. You assigning a gender to Bigfoot as he. I've never done that.
I feel like it's always assumed to be a he, but now I'm questioning.
I disagree. Yeah. I like to think that like the the matriarch of the family would be out there, and like maybe the husband Bigfoot would be back. I don't know, teaching baby Bigfoot how to like survive for themselves and play catch and things like that. Yeah, that's always what I assume. But like I don't I mean,
I like that. I like the idea. You know, I accept that Bigfoot are solitary creatures, but I like the idea of a Bigfoot family.
well, same thing with like a shark. Like when a shark gets born, they're only like with their mother for like a fucking minute or two.
Yeah, same with
50
octopus.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that we see any Bigfoot at all because they have to, they're out on their own immediately maybe, and a lot of them die. Or just get accepted into, or they're interstellar beings, so they're like, fuck, we don't need to be here, interdimensional. Like we can go other places, we can go to Electric Ladyland, if we wanted to, right? And I think that's the big takeaway from this episode.
Yeah. So, any any closing thoughts on the record?
I think that we should do a whole podcast where we just talk about Bigfoot because that was the shit. I don't know if we did this album justice because it's a lot better than I was not necessarily expecting. Like it's Jimi Hendrix. I knew that it's going to be, something great and something that I hadn't heard before. But a 15-minute song kind of, let's jerk each other off here aside, and some pretension, I think, with 50 takes. Like all of those facts aside, when I sit and listen to it straight through, it's groovy, it's fun, there's a lot of blues jams to it, and there's a lot of like I said, just cool lyrics, cool song stuff, like what like Baby Why'd You Burn Your House Down, or what, there's I'm going to listen to it again.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best compliment you can give a record.
Yeah. Well, it's a great album. You all should give it a listen. My mom has asked me to mention that we can't play the music on here because of copyright. I don't know if you didn't know that, but my mom says some people don't know that. I think it's just her, but for the record, we would play the music on here if we could.
Throwing a little bit of shade at Jackie's mom. Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Come get yourself familiar with